Is my computer science final, my citizen science website. It starts off on the homepage, as most things do, where I just explain what citizen science is, how it was created, and etc. If you scroll down, there's a little animation of the logo I made, a picture that describes citizen science, and a picture of myself. To make this, I just changed the background to what I like it, put an image here, and then moved the text over so it wasn't on top of the image. Personally, I think Google Sites is easier and more accessible to use than HTML and CSS code. I didn't have to input any code, so it was set up. It was already set up for me. There were easy to use text, image, and embedding tools that were just along the side here when you were making the website. I had it really easy and almost I just had a really good time making this. I love design and I love designing it. But back to the concept. Moving on to my second page, the video and survey. This is a video I made in a previous assignment explaining what citizen science is and how people can participate in the experiments it has. And then if you scroll down a little bit, this is a participation in a form of citizen science, which is a survey that I created asking people if they knew about citizen science, what they knew about it, and just things like that, how old they are, just to get a gauge on if their age has anything to do with how much they know about what citizen science is. Moving on to the third slide, purpose. The purpose of citizen science is to allow human monitoring of physical conditions. It helps researchers and computers gain knowledge and data. It's very easy to do. You could do it on your own time. You just need access to a computer. Usually you don't get paid. This is on a community service basis. But if you go into higher levels of citizen science, you can start getting paid for it if you're very advanced in the field that you're doing. It was created by Wells Cook, as you can see over here on the right. His first project was the North American Bird Phenology Program. What he did was reach out to bird watchers, and he asked them to track what types of birds were flying and when. And what he did, he didn't use the internet because this was the mid-1990s, not everybody had access to that. He asked people, gave experienced bird watchers cards to write what they noticed about migrating birds on, and then they sent it back to him, mailed it back, and he took that data, studied it, and then figured out a lot about migrating birds with the help of people. If you scroll down, these are the effects and impacts of citizen science. It has an amazing positive impact on citizens. They can learn a lot more about a subject they're interested in or even not interested in, and they can just learn more about a subject, and it gives researchers the data they need to learn about something that they need to know. Some things that are not that great is that it's difficult to get citizens to give their time to a project when you're starting out a little smaller. But, you build it up, you get there, you do what you need to do. I think that it has the potential to help the healthcare industry because you can gather data from patients, healthy civilians, and you can compare them, see what's wrong, see what's right. I think that's the next step in this. And the graph on the left explains peer-reviewed publications, which is a form of citizen science, and the year that how many people were doing them. Not that many in the 2000s, 2005, definitely a bump, but as you go up to 2010, many people. A little dip in 2013, but that's all right. Keep prevailing, and then you're booming up. For an aspect of this project, I had to create a survey asking people what they know about citizen science, if they think it impacts them, if they think it impacts society in general. And one of the most interesting things, and something that was revealed a lot to me, was that 66% of people that took this survey had no idea what citizen science was. I gave them 3 options. Yes, I've heard of it. No, I haven't heard of it. And the third one, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. I think this survey was a really great way of letting people know what citizen science is, how they could participate, and letting them know that it helps them and it helps society. I think that was nice to know. Moving on to the technological aspects. How do users interact with it? Well, users can monitor, collect, and share data with scientists, and there's so many programs that can be used, going as high as NASA, but there's smaller projects that maybe you've never heard of this website, you're just kind of fumbling around. But I think no matter how reputable the website is, even though they're all fairly reputable. They're all done by scientists. They're extremely helpful to the improving and the discovery of science. Moving on, how does citizen science incorporate one of the big ideas? So the 4 big ideas, if you're unaware, are abstraction, algorithms, programming, and the internet. And by far the largest idea that plays a part in citizen science is the internet. It's difficult but not impossible, as I talked about with Wells Cook and his bird monitoring program. You can do it without the internet. Projects are created using through code, and the system is programmed on how to respond to the actions of people take on the website. Moving on to the relationship to data, I think this was really exciting to research for me because citizen science on its own doesn't have many seeable aspects of computer science, but as you dig deeper, you'll realize that there's so many. So how does citizen science consume, produce, and transform data? This is just another way of saying how does it input and output. So all of the data from citizen science projects are collected by people through a project website. You can monitor, count, observe, anything like that. You're helping either way. From the websites, the data is given to scientists for further study just to make sure everyone did what they had to do. They did a good job. But of course, with everything on the internet, there's always a data storage, privacy, or security concern. But I'm here to let you know that your data is secure. On homepages of these programs, project runners will usually ensure that the participants' data is in good hands that they're not giving the data out and that everything is safe. My final page is the references page. For this, design aspect-wise, I just highlighted what I wanted yellow, made it yellow. I chose to do the titles of the articles that I used, and this article was extremely interesting to me. It was fascinating to see how citizen science and citizens figured out the challenges and future directions for biodiversity while monitoring. But the article that helped me the most was this one from Science Connected magazine. It's really good for people who don't know a lot about citizen science. It just explains that it's an important tool. Up here, it gives an overview. Why are citizens important? Because people might think, well, I'm not doing this, but you should. It's very interesting. It explains more about citizen science and why citizens are important. There's a picture of a girl tracking a dragonfly and releasing it. If you scroll down a little bit, this is just telling the public what the deal is, what's going on. Scroll down a little more. Informs research and policy. I think this website was extremely helpful to me. When I first started researching, this website came up, and I definitely used it a lot just to keep referring back to why people should get into citizen science, get into helping the community, helping themselves, helping science, because it had a section down here under the ad that has links to projects and organizations that you can get started on. And I went on to the scieStarter.com and I actually participated in one myself, and honestly it was really fun, and I would definitely do it again. And they're references, so just going back up and going back to my website homepage. I hope you enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun making it, and thank you for listening to me.